JW turn G. I want to do this one. What is God like? Because, and I might lose y'all on this. I might lose you, but just hear me out. I don't fucking know, right? This is all just brainstorming and just like some random thoughts and shit. But I really feel like people got who God is or the idea of God all wrong, right? They think that, and what is God like? They're, in this article, they're probably going to talk about all the creations, right? How the creations reflect God's qualities. And that's how we get to know him, by looking at creation. That's how we know what he's like, right? Okay. For me, with just, if I look around at the world, see everything that's going on, hear the story about Adam and Eve, and like, it just doesn't make sense. To me, it just doesn't make sense that there's a God in the sky that's sitting up there watching everything that's happening to us, that can hear our prayers and either chooses to answer them or not to. Like, it's so many inconsistencies, right? And so I feel like man just humanized the shit out of God because that's the only way they could perceive it or understand it, right? To understand or to explain God, you're not going to use your five senses, right? And most people can't comprehend anything past that. So to say that God is a man in the sky, that's the simplest way to get somebody to understand it. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And then he's all knowing and all say, okay, yeah, I got you. But it wouldn't make sense that people pray and sometimes they get answered, sometimes they don't. And there's stipulations for your prayers and they gotta fit this and they gotta be this way, and it doesn't make sense. And then, like I said, looking around at everything, bad shit happens. Terrible shit happens. So, and then the Bible. You got the Bible, right? All religions have the Bible, but all religions think they're true and that the other ones aren't. It's so many inconsistencies that if this was in place by God, it would have a little bit more order, I feel like. So I honestly think that idea and that the story of the Bible were made up to get people to be controlled, right? I feel like, and this is just me, this is just some speculation, like I said, just some brainstorming, I don't fucking know. But I feel like the Bible and the stories in the Bible are not history. I don't feel like the Bible's a history book. I feel like they're just like metaphors and illustrations and stories that take place in our mind. But like I said, they put them into ways that humans could understand it. Like, it was wrote by like philosophers, like, I don't know, like really tuned in spiritual people that wrote these stories down. But it wasn't a history book. It's psychological. It's a psychological book. And every story is something that happens in our mind, and it teaches us to be better people. I feel like it was just translated wrong. And I feel like God is inside each and every one of us. And the closer and the more we work on ourselves and like I said, going through those psychological things that we're going to have to go through in life, but the more that we focus on us and being the best that we can be and showing, you know, those qualities of love and all of that, I feel like that's when you find God. And if every person were to do that, that would make the world completely different. But when you throw in that God is somebody in the sky and you have to come out of yourself to find him and you got to depend on him and rely on him and all of this, not only does that strip you of your power, but you're going to get to a point where you're praying and you're pleading and you're begging, but nothing's happening because those prayers are just going up. Like, you're just chanting some random prayer to somebody outside of you in a desperate plea, right? But if you were to lock in on you and go inside on you, right, you would have everything you need inside you. I don't feel like there's anything that we would have to do or need to go outside of ourselves for, right? And I feel like that's God. That's where God is. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like because I always would think like, okay, if God doesn't exist, how do we get here, right? But I never really doubted God's existence because I never doubted my existence. Yeah, if everybody were to just go inside, I think that's where you would find God. And it would make the world a different place because people would be focused. People, when you build a religion or something like that, you're so focused on, okay, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, I gotta get this out, and then we gotta organize this, and we gotta organize that. It becomes a business, and it's not God. You're not focused on God. Right? So people that are sending these prayers up and doing all of that, they're praying to something that's not there. They're instead of going inside of themselves and fixing whatever it is, they're asking for help from something that's not there. And that's why prayers don't get answered, because they're not going anywhere. But if you were to look in at yourself and say, okay, this is what I need to do because I am God within me, right? Everybody has that ability. Man, problems start fading away, stress goes away, you align with shit that's made for you, like, but all of this shit is made to control people. It's made for you to depend on something outside of yourself. It's made for you to look somewhere else for guidance. Not for guidance, because you can get advice and things like that, but ultimately it's up to you, right? You cannot ultimately go on something outside of you because you have to do it. All right, that's my rant. Shit. Yeah. If y'all stayed with me up until this point, I fuck with y'all. For real, because I was spitballing right there, and I never really said that out loud before. Like, it's been in my head for a long time, so I hope it came out and made sense. I mean, like I said, it's just I don't fucking know. I'm just spitballing here, but I don't know. That's what I think. Let's read this shit. The more we discern someone's qualities, the better we know that person, and thus our friendship can deepen. Similarly, the more we come to know Jehovah's qualities, the better we will know what he is like, and thus our friendship can deepen. All of God's wonderful attributes, four are outstanding: his power, wisdom, justice, and love. And see, I would always wonder, like, how the fuck did we get here then, right? Like, because we had to have been created by something or somebody. Like, we didn't create ourselves, right? And so I always think, like, that there was just power, right? Like, consciousness is just like power. Like, the internet is just power. Like, a car is just power, and you can use it for good or bad, right? Like, you can drive the speed limit and obey the traffic laws and get to work on time. Or you could get drunk, drive, kill somebody. You know what I mean? The internet, it could be very useful. Or it could be very bad, but it's just raw power, and you determine how to use it. So I feel like that's life. I feel like that's consciousness. Consciousness was just raw power that wanted to experience life on every fucking level possible. That's why there's every fucking human that exists, and they're all different in each way. Every fucking animal you could think of, trees, fucking plants. It's consciousness in every way possible, right? Because I would never understand how, like, you got a fucking caterpillar, right? But a caterpillar is nothing like a rhinoceros, but they're both animals, right? So how do you get the idea to make a rhinoceros and a fucking caterpillar, and then a fucking butterfly, like, they're not even baby butterflies, like, they're fucking worms that transform. Like, how the fuck is that? You know what I mean? So it's just it's just too much to think about. So I just feel like consciousness expanded and wanted to experience life in every way possible, and it did that, right? And so now, for you to go and pray or to beg to something outside of you, it's just like that shit's just going in the wind. It's not going nowhere. But to lock in and see, okay, what kind of qualities do I have? How do I treat people? What am I doing? If you were to do that, oh man. If everybody were to do that, this world would not be the way it is. And it's just that simple, right? It's like humans are so fucking smart, but so fucking stupid. Everything that we need to survive is on the earth. But there's somebody somewhere that said, I'm going to take this water, I'm going to bottle it up, poison it, and then I'm going to sell it. Even though that shit falls from the sky. It runs down the rivers. It's free. Somebody did the same thing with apples. Apples grow on trees. Somebody said, I'm going to take these apples, box them up, poison them, and then I'm going to sell them. And we got to buy it. Right? But if because that's niggas that's trying to get greedy, motherfuckers that's trying to be powerful, trying to control people. If everybody were to just look inside themselves, find God, find the qualities they need to put on and focus on that, everybody would have what they need. Everybody would have what they need. There wouldn't be all of this bullshit that we have, and that's just real. You know what? Fuck this video. I've said what I need to say. I don't even need to read this. JW turn G.